Daniel Jones, a.k.a. Danny Dimes, has been named the starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts.
I think a lot of people are probably surprised that the job wasn't given to Anthony Richardson. But I think when you look at Anthony Richardson, he battled an injury in training camp. He's kind of been dealing with his whole entire career. You don't know if he's going to be available the whole season.
I have been preparing Indianapolis Colts fans for this news all off season long, and it officially happened. The Indianapolis Colts have named Daniel Jones their starting QB for the 2025 season. And when you hear what head coach Shane Steichen said about this decision, you'll understand why this might be the final chapter in Anthony Richardson's NFL career as a starter.
He's our starting quarterback for the season. You know, I don't want to have a quick leash on that. I feel confident in his abilities.
Did you catch that? Shane Steichen said for the season and no quick leash. This isn't some week-to-week competition anymore. Daniel Jones is the starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. But here's what makes this story absolutely insane. We're talking about a former 4th overall pick losing his job to a quarterback the New York Giants literally threw away in the middle of last season. And by the end of this video, you're going to see why this decision might actually make perfect sense and why Anthony Richardson's story fits into a pattern that's become way too common in the NFL. Stick around because we're about to break down exactly how we got here, and trust me, some of the details are going to shock you. Before we get to the content, we are still running Madden giveaways on both my X account and on my Instagram account. We already announced a few giveaway winners. I'm going to be running this giveaway for another week, and we have one more major announcement. NFL season's around the corner, and Dak Prescott just needs one passing yard in order for his square to hit. Guys, you can sign up with my promo code Mikerophone to get a free $50 in lineups when you play $5 or more on Prize Picks. Once you get that, use $25 on this lineup here to make $131. I've already been making picks so I can snipe the best lines early on, and in this case, I'm pairing Dak Prescott to get one passing yard, which is a free square, with Kyren Williams getting a touchdown at any point and Justin Jefferson scoring a touchdown versus the Chicago Bears. On top of that, if you want more plays, I've created an incredible Discord community of experts in the WAP link in the description down below. And thank you, Prize Picks, for today's sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? So what exactly happened? It just seemed like yesterday that when the Indianapolis Colts were in contract negotiations with Jonathan Taylor, they were bringing up how excited they were about a potential rushing attack that featured Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor. Well, 1 year after that contract dispute with Jonathan Taylor on October 27, 2024, everything changed. And this is the one moment where I believe the Indianapolis Colts pretty much sealed Anthony Richardson's fate, even though nobody really knew it at the time. Through the first half, AR wasn't having the greatest game versus the Houston Texans. But then something happened that has never been seen before in NFL history. Anthony Richardson voluntarily took himself out of the game. His reason?
Man, tired. I ain't gonna lie. That was a lot of running right there, what I did, and I don't think I was gonna be able to go that next play, so just told saying I just needed a break right there.
Let me put this into perspective for you. NFL players get carted off of fields with broken bones and refuse to come out of games. Aaron Rodgers has played with a broken collarbone. Brett Favre, who's notorious for being one of the greatest human beings, especially in his post-NFL playing career, was notorious for playing through everything. But Anthony Richardson, a 22-year-old physical specimen who was supposed to be the future of the franchise, took himself out because he was tired after one scramble. The reaction was immediate and brutal.
You're 22 years old. It's the middle of the season. Whenever you're tapping out, whenever you're healthy, what message are you sending to everybody in the building?
And the message it sends is loud. Even his own teammates were stunned. His center, Ryan Kelly, called it a tough look.
I'm sure he's going to take some criticism for that. I mean, that's a tough look. You know, I think he knows it's not the standard that he needs to play up to and the rest of the team holds him to. And
safety Zaire Franklin said, just lie like you stole something. That moment didn't just cost Anthony Richardson the game. It planted a seed of doubt that would grow into the situation we have today. But here's the thing. The tired incident was just the symptom. The real problems run way deeper, and when you see the numbers, you'll understand why the Colts made this decision. Look, I'm about to show you some statistics that are going to make you understand just how bad things really were for Anthony Richardson. And these aren't just bad numbers, these are historically awful numbers that put him among the worst quarterbacks in modern NFL history. In 2024, Anthony Richardson posted a 47.7% completion percentage, dead last in the entire NFL among starters. A 57.2 passer rating, again, worst in the NFL. His EPA per dropback was a negative 0.18. 2018, which was ranked 32nd out of 33rd for qualifying QBs. By the way, does anyone want to guess who number 33 was in the comment section down below? Now, his on-target percentage was 47.2%, the absolute worst in all of football. His bad throw percentage was a 20.5%, which was the second highest in the NFL. But wait, it gets even worse. Since being drafted 4th overall, Richardson has started just 15 games in 2 seasons. He's missed 19 of 34 possible games due to injuries. That means he's been available for just 44% of his team's games since being drafted. To put that into context, the Colts spent a 4th overall pick on a quarterback who's played less than half of their games, and when he has played, he's posted some of the worst efficiency numbers in NFL history. That's not franchise quarterback material, that's a roster construction disaster. Now here's what might blow your mind. We need to compare this to other failed first-round QBs, and spoiler alert, I think Richardson's situation might actually be worse than some of the biggest draft busts in recent memory. Now here's where the story gets really wild. It's not like the Indianapolis Colts found a brand new gem of a quarterback to take Anthony Richardson's position. This isn't Josh Rosen 2.0 here. The guy who took Anthony Richardson's job was literally thrown in the trash by another organization just months ago. The New York Giants released Daniel Jones mid-season rather than risk paying him a $23 million injury guarantee. Think about that for a second. The Giants were so desperate to get rid of Daniel Jones that they cut him for nothing instead of risking having to pay him more money. And to be honest, it's not like Daniel Jones has been absolutely incredible in the preseason either. But something interesting happened during the Colts quarterback competition. While Anthony Richardson was dealing with yet another injury, this time being a shoulder issue that kept him out of spring practices, Daniel Jones was quietly learning the system and impressing his coaches. Shane Steichen couldn't stop praising Jones, saying that he's been doing a hell of a job, and he's a really smart football player. He learned the offense very quickly. He's making really good decisions. He has great command in the huddle, and he's the ultimate pro. That last part, ultimate pro, that's a direct shot at the professionalism questions that have surrounded Richardson. And trust me, when we get into the behind the scenes stuff about Anthony Richardson's work ethic, you're going to understand why the Colts felt like they had no choice but to make this move. Here's where this story gets really disturbing, and I want you to pay close attention because this isn't just about talent. Sources close to the team revealed that coaches spent hours away from practice working with Richardson on basic quarterback concepts. Let that sink in. They had to take time away from team preparation to teach their starting quarterback how to be a quarterback. This is a guy who was drafted 4th overall, and they're having to give him remedial quarterback lessons. There were also serious concerns about his preparation habits. After he was benched in 2024, Richardson suddenly started arriving at the facility at 5:30 a.m. That raises an obvious question. What time was he showing up before he got benched? The most damning evidence came from the film room. Richardson's accuracy issues weren't just bad luck or receiver problems. Advanced analytics showed that he had fundamental problems reading defenses and making routine throws. Even Richardson admitted his struggles, saying, "I've always been able to make the big play, but the routine plays, that's really what I struggled with throughout my career." When your starting quarterback openly admits that he can't make routine plays, you don't have a starting quarterback, you have a project that might never be finished. But here's what's really scary. Richardson's situation fits into a pattern that we've seen way too often in recent years. And when you see how this story usually ends, you'll understand why Colts fans should be terrified about what they had just witnessed. I need to show you something that's going to put Anthony Richardson's situation into perspective. Over the last decade, we've seen a shocking number of first-round quarterbacks completely flame out in spectacular fashion, and the pattern is always the same. Early struggles, questions about work ethic, injuries, and then nothing. Let me tell you about Josh Rosen, because his story is eerily similar to what we're seeing with Anthony Richardson. Josh Rosen was drafted 10th overall by Arizona in 2018. I don't mean to dunk on the guy, but I don't get to use this clip that often. So at the time, this is what he said about where he was selected.
There were 9 mistakes made ahead of me.
I'm coming for Tom Brady's record, and I plan on getting picked pretty early.
Rosen famously said that there was 9 mistakes selected ahead of him. Sound familiar? In his rookie year, Rosen went 3-10 as the starter, completing just 55.2% of his passes for 2,278 passing yards, 11 touchdowns, and 14 interceptions. But here's the kicker. After just 1 season, the Arizona Cardinals traded him to Miami for a 2nd-round pick when they drafted Kyler Murray. Rosen's Miami Miami experience was even worse. Miami waived him after one season, and since then, Josh Rosen has bounced around practice squads and is now essentially out of the NFL. But Rosen's story gets even sadder. Due to his highly touted potential and complete lack of success, he's now listed among the biggest draft busts in NFL history. He's become the only first-round quarterback to be traded after just one season with the team that had drafted him. Then there's the late Dwayne Haskins, and his story is even more tragic. Haskins was drafted 15th overall by Washington in 2019, and like Richardson, he had incredible physical tools but struggled with the mental side of the game. Haskins was benched multiple times due to poor performance and work ethic concerns. Sources reported that he fell into poor study and practice habits, and his lack of preparation was hurting him in games. After going 3-10 as a starter and throwing for just 2,804 passing yards, 12 touchdowns, and 14 interceptions, Washington released him before the end of his second season. Pittsburgh signed him as a backup, but Haskins tragically died in 2022 after being struck by a vehicle. Even more recently, we have Trey Lance, who might be the most expensive draft bust of all. The 49ers traded 3 first-round picks to move up and draft Lance 3rd overall in 2021, but injuries and poor play led to him being traded to Dallas for just a 4th-round pick after 2 seasons. Lance's numbers are strikingly similar to Richardson's. Through 4 years, he's completed just 56.6% of his passes for 1,063 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions in 12 games. He's now on his 3rd team and is still looking for a real opportunity. And then there's Zach Wilson, who might be the most relevant comparison to Anthony Richardson. Zach Wilson was drafted 2nd overall by the New York Jets in 2021, and like Richardson, he was primarily drafted for his physical tools but struggled with accuracy and decision making. Wilson went 12-21 in 33 starts, completing just 57% of his passes for 6,293 passing yards, 23 touchdowns, and 25 interceptions. After 3 years of struggles, the Jets traded him to Denver for basically nothing. The pattern is clear and terrifying. High draft pick, early struggles, questions about work ethic, injuries, and then exile from the team that drafted them. Richardson is following this exact playbook, and that should scare every Colts fan. But wait, before you completely give up hope, I need to tell you that there are some rare success stories, because there are quarterbacks who have come back from early career disasters, and their stories might give you a glimmer of hope for Anthony Richardson's future. Now, I don't want to leave you completely depressed, because there are some incredible comeback stories in the NFL that prove it's not always over when things look hopeless. Let me tell you about 2 guys who went from NFL afterthoughts to legitimate success stories. First up is Geno Smith, and his story is absolutely incredible. Geno Smith was drafted by the New York Jets in 2013, and after 2 inconsistent seasons as their starter, he essentially disappeared from the NFL as a starter for 7 years. 7 years! That's longer than most NFL careers. Smith bounced around as a backup with the Giants and the Chargers, throwing fewer than 200 passes in those 7 seasons combined. By 2022, most people had completely written him off. But as Geno Smith said famously,
"They wrote me off. I ain't right back though. That's the problem. I ain't right back. Let's go."
he was 32 years old and seemed destined to be a career backup. But then something magical happened in Seattle. After Russell Wilson was traded to Denver, Smith beat out Drew Lock for the starting job and proceeded to have one of the most shocking seasons in recent memory. Smith led the league in completion percentage at 69.8%. He threw for 4,282 passing yards and 30 touchdowns. And he led the Seahawks, who were supposed to be rebuilding, to a playoff berth. He became the first quarterback since Rich Gannon in 1999 to earn his first Pro Bowl selection in year 10 or later. The best part? Smith won AP Comeback Player of the Year and signed a 3-year, $75 million contract. Pete Carroll said it best: Geno's the real deal. He can do all the things that a terrific quarterback does. But even more impressive is the Sam Darnold story, which literally just happened this past season. Darnold was the 3rd overall pick by the New York Jets in 2018, and like Richardson, he struggled early with accuracy and decision making. After going 13-25 as a starter with the Jets and the Panthers, Darnold seemed done. He was a backup with the 49ers in 2023, and most people thought his starting days were over. But then Minnesota signed him to a 1-year approve a deal, and Darnold absolutely exploded. He threw for 4,319 passing yards and 35 touchdowns. He led the Vikings to a 14-3 record and earned his first Pro Bowl selection. He became the first quarterback in NFL history to record 14 wins in his first season with the team. The craziest part? Darnold was named Comeback Player of the Year by the Sporting News, receiving 503 votes compared to just 144 for Joe Burrow. He went from NFL afterthought to one of the best comeback stories in league history. So yes, quarterbacks can come back from early career disasters, but here's the thing. Both Smith and Darnold had to completely change teams and situations to resurrect their careers, and they both had to wait years for their opportunity. The question for Richardson is, will he get that chance, and more importantly, will he use it? It's important to note that Anthony Richardson's a very young quarterback. He's younger than Will Howard, Dylan Gabriel, Tyler Shaw, Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, and Shedeur Sanders. But let's get to the heart of why this happened. This really wasn't about talent, it was about trust and reliability. Shane Steichen emphasized that consistency was the key factor, saying that the operation, the communication in the huddle, the checks, getting guys on the same page, the consistency of all of that obviously is going to play a big factor in this. Translation is they just couldn't trust Anthony Richardson to be available, to make the right decisions, or to handle the mental side of being an NFL quarterback. Both Shane Steichen and general manager Chris Ballard are feeling serious heat, and there's been a schism between Chris Ballard and the coaching staff over Anthony Richardson's development. When your own front office and coaches can't agree on a player, that's a massive red flag. The Colts have Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, and a solid defense, and they believe Daniel Jones gives them a better chance to win now than to continue to wait for Anthony Richardson to figure it out. And honestly, after everything we've seen, can you blame them? So what's next for Anthony Richardson? Well, the financial reality of this is brutal. He has a $20.9 million dead cap hit if he's released in 2025, which makes him unmovable essentially. The Colts are stuck with him at least for this season. His current trade value is estimated at a conditional 4th round pick, which could maybe escalate to a 3rd round pick if he starts 12 plus games or somehow makes the Pro Bowl. But realistically, who's trading for a quarterback who can't stay healthy and can't complete routine passes? Any team is a potential landing spot at this point because Anthony Richardson isn't a starting QB. Maybe after a few years of being a backup, Anthony Richardson could potentially be the next Sam Darnold or Geno Smith. But this story is about more than just Anthony Richardson. It's about how the NFL has completely changed its approach to developing quarterbacks. Teams used to give 1st round picks 3 to 4 years to develop. Now they're making final adjustments after 15 games. Research shows that only 41% of 1st round quarterbacks achieve positive impact, and just 15% become true franchise quarterbacks. Richardson is looking like another casualty of teams reaching for potential over production. And when you compare Anthony Richardson to his 2023 draft classmates, it's absolutely embarrassing. CJ Stroud won Offensive Rookie of the Year and led his team to the playoffs. Bryce Young struggled early, but recently he's improved significantly. Anthony Richardson has been barely available, was benched multiple times, and has now been replaced by Daniel Jones. And the timing of this announcement is telling. The Colts essentially admitted that their 2023 1st round pick was a bust just 2 years later. That has massive implications for their future roster construction. If Daniel Jones doesn't work out, they could be looking at a quarterback again in the 2026 draft. Think about how insane that would be. This would be their 3rd 1st round quarterback in 5 years. That's Cleveland Browns levels of dysfunction. If I'm advising Anthony Richardson, here's what I would tell him. First of all is stay ready, because Daniel Jones is 28 and has his own injury history and has been far from consistent. Another opportunity will come. Fix the fundamentals. Use this time to work on accuracy, pocket presence, and reading defenses. The physical tools are still there. Change the narrative about your professionalism. You're young and it's never too late to become the ultimate professional. First one in, last one out. Show that you've learned from the tired incident and all the other mistakes. And consider your options. Whether it's staying in Indianapolis or getting a fresh start elsewhere, be ready to prove you're not the same player who got benched. But let's be honest here, the odds are stacked against Richardson ever becoming a starting quarterback again. Research shows that 85% of 1st round QBs who get benched in their first 2 years never recover to become quality starters. The physical tools are still there, but the mental side of the game and the injury concerns are major red flags. Teams will remember the tired incident forever. They'll remember the missed games, questions, the accuracy issues, and the professionalism questions. Anthony Richardson joins a long list of highly drafted quarterbacks who had all the measurables but couldn't put it together at an NFL level. The difference between college and the pros is bigger than ever, and Richardson might be another cautionary tale. Let me know in the comment section down below. Is this the end of Anthony Richardson? Aside from that, if you guys want to hear of another roster transaction that was an unmitigated disaster, what about the Rafael Devers trade to the San Francisco 49ers? We have a completely separate video on that on our brand new baseball channel that is almost at 25,000 subscribers. I'll leave it in the end screen. I'll meet you guys there. I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.